Hi folks, this is Rosebriar Creek here again with a couple of tips for those of you just starting to learn how to play chords. And the economy of motion is really what you want to develop. And by that I mean I'm looking for places where I don't have to move my hand very far in order to make change from one chord to the other. Just a quick review. We've talked about shapes, and if you haven't looked at our shape lesson, you might want to review the first one, because the first shape we talked about had the two fingers, and it created an E minor chord if I place them first finger on the A string, second fret, and right directly below it, third finger on the D string, second fret, and now in that lesson, I suggested that you could play that with any two fingers. So if I do the second and third finger, sounds the same. I could do it with my third and fourth. So as long as I finger it at the right place, I'm going to get the same sound. But the different fingers do make a big difference. Now, I'm going to leave the third and fourth because I know you guys can handle the second and third and the first and second. But let's try it with moving the third and fourth. Here's my E minor chord. Now, if I drop vertically both of those fingers, I get an A9 chord. You might note that I start from the A because I'm in the A. Making a chord based on A, and when I do the E, I start from the E. Now that's a perfectly good chord progression. Play with your rhythms always. Good. Now I'm going to drop it again and see what happens. Here's the E. Here is the A9. I'm going to drop it again. I get this sound. I started from the D because I'm in the D area of the guitar, and I get this beautiful jazzy chord. It's basically a D major 9 chord. If I drop it one more, what do I get? Now, that is dissonant. Does not mean that it won't have some use further down the road, but right now it is. But that doesn't mean it's useless. I can also look at the shape and move it horizontally towards the sound hole or towards the neck. So I'm going to move it up one place and get this sound here. And yes, I'm playing from the D string down. This is a perfectly acceptable G chord. It's a G power chord. If I want the full G though, I'm going to have to use the other shape. And this shape, if you recall, I used my middle finger, put it on the third fret, low E string. My first finger on the A string, second fret. So one finger was below on the string below, but also a fret ahead. Now, if I keep this shape and I add this shape, I get what's known as a G, 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 and put the shape here. That's it. Take your time and look carefully what you're doing. All right, because we want to get these things in our hands. And I like to call it the rock G. It's used in a lot of classic rock songs. Now, we know that the 1, 4, and 5 are the major chords in any key. So, I want to be able to get to each of them. Today, or on this little segment, we're going to go to the 4 chord. To drop to the 4 chord, all I have to do is take the shape with my first and second finger and bring it down one set of strings, and I get my 4 or my C chord. Back up, here's our G. If I want to go to 4, I 4 to the floor. And back. Now, let's take time and let's do a little rhythm with it. We'll start with our whole note. 1, 2, 3, 4. And switch. On the G, I'm hitting the note where my middle finger is, and on the C, I'm hitting the same note where the middle finger is. So that's a 6th string root, and that is a 5th string root. Here's where the half notes. To make it more musical, put a little more root on the 1, and make the second one softer. Same thing goes with quarters. Loud, soft, 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 soft. Let the wrist do the work, not the arm. To get the A, let's stop a second. I loosen up my pick just a slight amount. It's not something that I do consciously, but I notice that when I don't hold the pick as tightly as I do when I play single notes, that I have a little bit more freedom. Now my goal is to just barely touch the strings, and the same thing with the up. Try not to stick the tip of the pick into the strings too far, and then slowly work your way to have a kind of a butterfly stroke. One way you can think of it is try to touch the hairs on your arm without touching your arm. Kind of that approach to getting the 8th note sound. Here's a quarter, and then I'm going to switch to 8ths. With quarters, I count the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Eighths, I'm going to count the and in between the numbers. And I'll do one more of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Butterfly stroke. Once you've got that, you have a beautiful 1/4 sound that could be applied to any song that needs it. And of course, I could use my pentatonic scale, G major pentatonic, to jam on it. Have fun with that.